All right, tell me now, these domestically produced weapons, are they game changers as far as you're concerned?
Everything's been a game changer, right? The Hrim 2 and what the Ukrainians call their ballistic missile, it's probably a variant of the Grom or Sapsan missile, which they've been working on for quite a while now, at least the past 2 years, trying to give that the extra oomph to go about 1,000 kilometers. And the Palencia, which I might be pronouncing wrong, missile is almost like the KH-141, which was a Soviet era drone missile kind of combination thing that is powered by a jet engine that Ukraine used as kind of a primitive cruise missile. So what these two weapons can do is they can threaten Russian air bases, and that's a big deal. If you can threaten Russian air bases, specifically bomber bases like Ingalls Air Base in Russia, that'll make it a lot harder for Russia to fire cruise missiles and drop glide bombs. And these glide bombs have been incredibly deadly. So is it a game changer? Well, everything's been a game changer, but it is an additional capability which gives Russia more dilemmas.
Well, and it would also seem that it gives Zelensky, it gives the Ukrainian military more free reign, right? Because there's been this restriction on them, particularly from the White House in the U.S., in terms of using U.S. munitions into Russian territory. So do you suspect that perhaps what they've done is they've rushed the development of these weapons to kind of get around, to do an end run on the restrictions that have been placed on them?
Absolutely. One of the issues is that whenever you fire an American-made weapon or a NATO-made weapon, all of the lot numbers and stamps and manufacturer numbers are still on that weapon. And when that thing explodes, some of those pieces survive. And so Russia will take those pieces of cruise missile and show, hey, here's that Lockheed Martin stamp. Here's the lot number from Raytheon. And that could be an issue with Russia. They do not want NATO weapons striking inside their territory. Now, whether it's good or bad that we prevent Ukraine from using our weapons on Russian territory is a separate issue entirely, but Ukraine definitely developed these capabilities so that they could reach further into Russia, specifically to stop these deadly glide bomb attacks.
Well, now, you raised an interesting point. Obviously, lobbing a Raytheon missile or some other manufacturer, not to do any free marketing for Raytheon, into Russian territory, it leaves evidence. And obviously, the White House has been placing restrictions on the U.S. Or on Zelensky's use of U.S. munitions because of the fear of escalation. So, I guess where I'm going with this question is, have you heard anything that would indicate that in an effort to assist Ukraine, but also avoid that evidence and that potential escalation, the U.S. has provided assistance in the development of their domestic programs?
I am not familiar with that, but I would not be surprised if the U.S. has aided in things like targeting. And, oops, hey, here's this targeting information as to when Russian bombers are usually at Ingalls. That just kind of fell out of my pocket. I probably shouldn't have written that down when I was in the skip, right? So I would not be surprised if we're giving that information to Ukraine, or at least passing that information to them surreptitiously. Ukraine has plenty of competent engineers. And in the big scheme of things, developing a ballistic missile really isn't that hard, or developing some kind of drone, jet-powered drone. It's not really that hard.
Yeah. I've done it. I've done it myself. There have been times when I've been bored, and I'll get the kids gathered around, and we'll develop our own ballistic missile. So you're right to that point. I'm sorry. I might have interrupted you.
No, that's perfectly okay. The technology is there. One of the issues is that I believe there's an arms control treaty, which for the longest time prevented ballistic missiles from going more than, I think it was about 310 miles or so, 500 some kilometers. And of course, that's out the window with Ukraine. They need to be able to strike these Russian airfields where the glide bombs are coming from and pounding places like Kherson.